This is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you, and this is another restaurant review. I am traveling currently, and I'm here in Santa Ana, California at 206 Broadway, and this is right next to Anaheim, California, where I'm currently traveling. Today we're going to be doing a restaurant review, and we're at this place called Naturaw. It's an organic garden eatery, and I'm excited to say that this place is 100% organic. Now they do serve vegan, vegetarian, and raw food, so I'm here specifically for the raw food. Next, we're gonna go inside and show you guys the menu, and then we're gonna order some stuff up, and you'll get to hear how the food is here at Naturaw. Now we're seated in. We got the menu here of the Naturaw, and this is a cool place because not only do they serve raw foods, they also have vegetarian and vegan foods available. So in the menu, they have some beverages. A lot of the beverages range in price from $3 on up to $10.95 for smoothies and whatnot. Gets kind of expensive. Then they have raw hors d'oeuvres, range in price from $6 to $10. And they have these different little stars next to some of the menu items. So for example, if it has like 3 stars, that means it's raw. If it has 2 stars, it's vegan, and 1 star is vegetarian. They also have some soups. Some are cooked and some are raw, between $6 and $8. Finally, they got the salads between $8 and $11, and they have some vegetarian paninis. We won't go into the price of those. They're actually $11. And they have the raw specialties. So this is like the entrees, and the entrees are anywhere from, looks like about $11 on up to approximately $15. So let's see. Oh, and they also have some appetizers, which are basically $4 to $10. But from what I hear, the appetizers are fairly small. And yep, they also got some desserts too, which we may partake in later. And also they got basically coffee and medicinal teas. They range in price from $3 to about $6. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and check out the menu and then order a couple things, and then we're gonna start sampling. So I think probably what we're gonna get today are just a few things. We're gonna get the classic guacamole burger. That's under the raw specialty. That's $10.95. And that's basically like a nut pate burger between 2 kale leaves. It could also be served on a bun. We're gonna get the Holy Moly Enchiladas, which I was told is probably their largest volume of food for something on the raw menu, and it was a large amount of food. So we'll see if that's true. We're also gonna get the Portobello steak taco. So unlike many raw food restaurants that have tacos in, like, you know, a romaine leaf or cabbage leaf, which is actually on their appetizer menu, they do serve them in the cabbage leaf. This is actually in a flaxseed taco shell. Unfortunately, they're out of the taco shells tonight, so they're gonna put this in a tostada shell. And then finally, as an appetizer for fun, it's $4, and we're gonna see how the chips and salsa are. So we're gonna go ahead and order and wait for our food to come. Also, a new thing we're gonna do is we're gonna actually time to see how long it takes for our main course to come out. Because some of the challenges I've had at other raw food restaurants is that you could order the food and then you're waiting and waiting and waiting to eat when you're starved. Appetizers here, and here it is. This is the organic corn flax chips and the salsa. So I had asked them about the corn chips because, you know, organic fresh corn is not currently available. I asked them if they are using dried corn or frozen corn, and that is something that is often used in raw food recipes. So frozen corn that's organic, bought in the store, even non-organic frozen corn, is technically not raw because they blanch it and then they freeze it. So these technically are not all raw. So we're gonna go ahead and try one today, despite that fact. This looks like a nice mango salsa here. Lots of mangoes with a little bit of maybe pepper and some tomato in there, and some hot pepper, and we'll let you know how it is. Wow, it's actually quite good. Now the only thing I can say is that I wish they gave you a little bit more salsa to go with all these chips. So I'm so excited. My dinner finally came in. I am one hungry dude tonight, and here it is. This is called the Holy Moly Enchiladas, and it actually says enchiladas, so that usually means more than one, but I just got a Holy Moly Enchilada, so I only got one. It also came with a nice side salad, so this is a fairly large serving, you know, for a raw food restaurant. Some of the gourmet raw food, fruit restaurants, have like, you know, small ass portions, but this is actually fairly decent. You know, I still don't know if it's enough to fill me, but we're gonna find out. So this basically has a sunflower seed chorizo filling, and if you look inside there, it kind of actually does look like some kind of sausage stuff. And the salad's a nice size salad. Looks like it just has some standard spring mix, although I'm really particular about my greens because I grow many of my own, and especially when I go to a restaurant or rarely buy bag greens, I don't like to get rotten greens, as you can see here, in my salad. Definitely not too good to eat that stuff because you are what you eat, and I don't want to eat rotten food because I don't want to be rotten. Next, the taste test. Let's go ahead and cut some of this off here. Enchiladas. I've waited my whole life to taste this. Maybe not really. Interesting. So it's like served cold, like it's like right out of the fridge. I generally like my food room temperature instead of cold. I mean, tastes alright, it's not phenomenal. Has a little bit higher fat content than I would like optimally, so good thing I could balance it with the salad next door, which I'll try next. So you gotta leave some carrots and some of the dressing. Not bad. It's alright, it's a good salad. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up and I'll come back at you with a review of how I liked it. Now we're down to the last bite of the enchilada, and the only thing I have to say about the enchilada is that actually the side salad was actually fairly good, but the enchilada was just pretty much like just solid like nuts. It was just really heavy and dense, and while it tasted good, I didn't really like it because it was just so dense. You know, it needs some more life in there because there's all like just nuts and seeds in there. But it tasted all right. The next thing came, we got the Portobello steak taco, and there is no steak in here. This is a vegan, vegetarian, raw actually. And actually before I go on, I do want to mention that it took about, from the time we ordered to the time we got the main entrees, it took 25 minutes. So you could determine if that is acceptable to you or not. It seemed to go pretty fast when you have good company. In any case, we're gonna go ahead and try this. Now this is the taco, but it's actually served on the tostada shell because they were out of the taco shells. And it actually looks rather large, so that's kind of good. I don't generally eat a lot of portobello mushrooms, but we're gonna try it tonight. We're gonna try to get some of the sour cream here and some of the filling in here. Oh, it looks like just whole pieces of large mushrooms. Wow, look at that. So there we go, I got a piece of the mushroom, some salsa, and some sour cream. Once again, ingredients, they're really cold. I don't particularly care for that too much. It needs to be at least more room temperature. I mean, this is a raw food restaurant, not a cold food restaurant. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this guy up, and we'll come back at you and let you know how it was. We're down to the last bite of the steak taco, and it's right here. And after eating this whole thing, definitely have to say it's fairly lighter than the enchilada that I had, because that was pretty nut-based, and at least this was a lot of like vegetables chopped up with some portobello, which I don't like so much, but this actually did taste pretty good. Now we got the last entree that we're getting tonight, and this is called the classic guacamole burger. You can get this in a vegetarian on bun, but I'm getting it raw, so it's on with kale leaves, actually as the crust. And as you can see, there's like a mushroom burger actually down in here in the bottom, made with the portobellos, and it looks like dehydrated. It doesn't have actually guacamole, it has some cut up avocados in there. I'm gonna go ahead and also it has some sunflower greens on the top. Now, I do want to comment, none of this produce here particularly looks too fresh to me. It all looks kind of wilted and not super vibrant. So aside from the burger, you also get some flax chips, some cabbage with a radish on top, and some pico de gallo. We're gonna go ahead and try a flax chip with the pico de gallo. The pico de gallo pretty much to me just has no flavor. It kind of just tastes like, barely like even tomatoes. Because it's off season right now and tomatoes don't taste too good. Next, I'm gonna try this classic guacamole burger.
Yeah, I mean, if you could bring some, and that might be too much for you, but maybe you could.
I like the combination of the avocado, the tomato, and the mushroom burger. So far, so good. I'm finishing up the this plate here. Got my last flax chip, which is pretty good. Actually, I think overall, above all else, I like this guacamole burger because it was mostly water rich. So it was made out of mostly, fresh vegetables with a dehydrated mushroom patty, and everything else was just fresh. So I like that a lot. It sat a lot nicer with me than some of the other things that had like, a lot more mushrooms or, nuts and seeds that I'm used to eating. Finished with dinner, now dessert came. Can't forget dessert at a raw food restaurant. They're actually some of the best tasting stuff, and even if you don't eat raw, most people still like the raw desserts because they're amazing. So what we got here tonight is actually the raw carrot cake, and maybe with some kind of lemon flavor. And we're gonna go ahead and taste it. Oh, it has a nice consistency, standing up pretty good. It's definitely good, has some unique spices that you may like, but I'm not particularly a big fan of. We're down the last bite of the carrot cake here, and it seems like on the bottom of the carrot cake there's like these things that glisten, and they're a little bit crunchy, and to me it reminds me of like some kind of sugar. I don't exactly know what kind of sugar it is, but I just don't think using like sugar in raw foods recipes are that good, because we want to get back to eating whole foods and not like highly processed foods. Nonetheless, the carrot cake was just okay. Might be better if you come to get the cheesecake. So you might notice that actually we're not in the restaurant anymore. Actually, I had to leave the restaurant because they were closing, and I didn't feel comfortable giving you guys my review while I was still at the restaurant. This is the first. This has never happened to me before. So basically, I want to kind of go over with you guys what happened actually during the course of the meal, which is really terrible, and I wish I would have caught this on video because it would have been actually a really good, eye-opener for you guys. So what happened, as you guys saw when I was, getting one of my meals, I was pulling out leaves that were rotten in it. Yes, rotten leaves. Definitely not a cool thing in any restaurant. I mean, nobody wants to be served rotten food. So I pulled out at least maybe about 10 rotten leaves out of my salad. And I kindly and politely said to the server, hey, I got some rotten leaves here. And I just held them up in my hand to show them. And then basically, normally if you're a server, you're going to, number one, apologize, right? Rule number one of customer service is that the customer is always right. Rule number two is if the customer is wrong, reread rule number one again. So she didn't apologize. She was just like making excuses. And then I just kind of kept going like, it's rotten leaves, and like I expected her to say, hey, well, let me bring you out another one, or hey, let's comp the meal, or hey, something. So that didn't happen. She walks away. I'm still have my rotten salad. I just put the leaves to the side, don't eat them. And the other thing is that it pisses me off when I go to raw food restaurants and they're serving me rotten stuff. I mean, one of the tenets to me of raw foods is eating fresh food. I mean, I garden my own front yard. I garden my own front yard to have the highest quality food available. And when I eat at a restaurant, I don't expect necessarily I'm going to get garden fresh food like out of my front yard, but I surely don't expect rotten leaves. Do any of you guys expect rotten leaves when you guys eat out at a restaurant? I surely hope not. So anyways, the server left, and then all of a sudden the owner comes out, and it's the owner lady, and she comes out like pissed at me. Meanwhile, I'm just like saying, hey, I got some rotten leaves, and she's like, you are bullying my server. I'm like, me bullying your server? Like I'm a raw food vegan. I'm not like a bully. I was bullied in grade school. I was not the bully. Bullies kicked my ass. They pulled down my pants at gym and, slapped me in the ass. And we won't go into that. But, it was a tough life when I was a kid. But I was in no way bullying the server. I was just stating the facts of what happened and expecting an apology and to make it right. So now the owner starts, really digging into me about bullying her server, and she's like, and you're bullying me. I'm like, I'm not. I was like, man, there's some confused shit going on here. I'm not bullying anybody. I'm just stating that I got some leaves, and then she would defend it. I'm like, there's some, you know, some rotten leaves in here, and, you know, in my opinion, there shouldn't be rotten leaves in a salad. We get our produce fresh every day, is something she said. And, you know, I mean, I know, I go to the wholesale produce terminals in Los Angeles, the very place she probably gets her produce from, some of the distributors up in that area. I know from years of going to the produce terminal that if you watch the stuff, and if you're not watching the stuff and you're just accepting deliveries as they come, you're going to get rotten stuff. You need to pick through and be confident in the stuff you get, and if it's not good, you need to send it back to the produce delivery companies. Because you know what, if you're accepting that, then they're giving you their rotten stuff, and then you're going to be serving it to your customers. Or at least if you're the chef in the kitchen, right? Don't just be grabbing stuff, putting it on the plate. You should have some quality control. Like if you get a TV, man, you don't get TVs with cracks down the screen unless you get it shipped and FedEx threw it over the gate and it cracked, right? Quality control, man. So then she just was like, we get our stuff fresh. She's really adamant about her way's the right way. And meanwhile, I'm thinking, man, they should just grow their own stuff. If it was fresh picked, it would never be rotten. And she's like, oh, it doesn't rot that fast. I'm like, we just got it, she says. I'm like, don't even talk to me about rotten produce. I know how fast stuff rots. I grow things in my garden. I get stuff from the wholesale produce terminal. I know how fast it goes bad. So pretty much we're butting heads. And then she's like, you know what? We have the right to refuse service. And I'm like, so what, like now we're gonna get kicked out of the raw food restaurant for me just stating that there were some bad leaves in my salad? This is totally ridiculous. So anyways, thing came to pass, and then she finally apologized. I mean, I was only looking for an apology before, and I do need to say that I have had other issues with restaurants, raw food restaurants specifically in Orange County. And you know, the last time I had a major issue at one of them, they comped my whole meal, and that was totally satisfactory. And you know, I mean, if somebody screws up, you know, I know there's a lot of margin in restaurants, and you know, goodwill and customer service is everything, and you want a good word on the street about you and your restaurant, not a bad word like this video now. And you know, all she needed to do was, oh, you know, I'm sorry, we'll get you a new salad, which she never offered. She said, you know, she finally did offer a free dessert, which actually had some sugar crystals that I wasn't a big fan of. But she could have just comped the whole meal, said, you know what, we'll just take care of this whole thing. I apologize, it won't happen again. And then she should institute, you know, strategies, quality control, have a employee go through the lettuce that comes in to make sure and reject if it's bad, or at least scoop out the lettuce that's not rotten to the customers. Because I'm sure as heck it's happened again, you know. A lot of people just don't pay attention, and it's you know, something that I'm blessed and also cursed with, is that I pay attention to things in life, and unfortunately not much gets by me. And I think that makes me also a good gardener and also a good person that eats a raw food stuff, because I'm paying attention to what's going on instead of just being all airy-fairy and stuff. But you know what? Whatever. This is what happened at the restaurant, so this is why I could not finish the video there. And you know, I was quite saddened about the whole experience, because actually the food was actually quite good. So with knowing all that now, I have to give you guys, this is my rating. I usually rate places from 0 to 5 apples. And for Au Naturaw, I'm going to have to rate it a 1 out of 5 apples. This is probably the lowest rating I've ever given. If I didn't have the bad lettuce, or at least they took care of it properly without badgering me and calling me a bully, which is like, oh, the world's first, you know, I probably would have rated it a 3 out of 5. It was actually decent. I felt good. A little bit more nuts, you know, than I'd like. I'd like a lot more fresh vegetables. And another, you know, the owner made another snide comment to me. She said, you know, we've had a 5-star Yelp review until now. Like, I'm going to leave a bad Yelp review. No, I'm not. I don't mess around with Yelp. I just make videos for you guys to teach you guys, you know, what goes on in raw food restaurants and my opinions. You know, every review, there's facts. Like, I show you the plate of the food as it comes out. That's a fact. I show you rotten leaves. That's a fact. My opinion is there should be rotten leaves on your plate when you get served, you know? And maybe there should be. I don't know. Maybe you're like into like eating for a lot of fermented foods and you like stuff rotten. But that's a controlled rot instead of just rotten leaves. But anyways, you know, that's pretty much sums up the end of this review. I pretty much, you know, cannot recommend Au Naturaw at this point. I am open you know, to going in there and getting a free meal. If the owner and the chef or anybody who works there wants to give me a second chance, I'd be glad to make another video because I hope my experience will be better. I hope they have a change of attitude, and you know, the customer's always right. Implement procedures so that this does not happen to other customers, and so that this does not just blow up, because that in itself, in my opinion, is unacceptable. I mean, to feel badgered as a customer, that's just the pits. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're the best.